DragonSword Awakening is an interesting RPG case of 2026, but maybe not because the game looks especially groundbreaking. It is another anime-style open-world action RPG, and we already have enough of those to build a small decorative mountain. The interesting part is the story behind it. This game first tried the gacha/live service route in Asia, and from the outside, that attempt clearly did not become the success story the team needed. Now the global Steam version is being presented as a premium buy-to-play RPG, with the visible gacha elements removed. And that makes DragonSword Awakening worth discussing. Not as a guaranteed redemption arc, more like a survival attempt. A game that failed to win in one brutal market is now entering another brutal market, with a new business model, but many old design habits still visible under the armor. After playing the demo, I understand why they changed direction, but I am not convinced this new direction will save it. DragonSword Awakening is an anime-style open-world action RPG from Hound 13. The Steam version is planned as a premium PC release, with single-player and online co-op elements. The story takes place on the continent of Orbis, where a dragon returns after 60 years. The main character, Lute, becomes involved with companions, mercenaries, ancient mysteries, and of course, a fantasy world where everyone seems to have much better hair care than me. On paper, the game offers many things you would expect from this type of RPG. Open fields, dungeons, caves, exploration, companions, collectible familiars, cooking, quests, and flashy action combat. Combat seems to be built around combos, character switching, tag mechanics, and status effects. So in theory, this could be more than just pressing attack while particle effects do the emotional labor. And honestly, that part is still interesting. The problem is not that DragonSword has no ideas. The problem is that the demo feels raw, confusing, and still very deeply connected to its gacha roots. The demo starts with a short intro mission. The protagonist wakes up near the shore, climbs toward a better view, and soon meets the first character who joins the adventure. And yes, I have to say it. This setup immediately reminded me of Genshin Impact. Not in a call the fantasy police way, more in a yes, I have walked this beach before way. After that, the game gives the player access to a surprisingly large roster of characters very early. Now, this may simply be a demo decision. Maybe the developers wanted players to test different units, different combat styles, and different team combinations. That would make sense, but part of me wonders if this also reveals a deeper issue. Maybe the game has not fully solved how these characters naturally join the party through the story. In a gacha game, this is not a big problem. Characters appear because you pulled them. The story does not always need to justify why your team suddenly includes half the continent. But in a premium RPG, party members usually need stronger narrative integration. They need context, motivation, personality, and a reason to travel with you. Otherwise, the roster feels less like a party and more like a character testing menu. To be fair, this is still a demo. The final game may introduce characters differently. But based on what I played, the party structure still feels closer to, here is your roster, test the units, than, these companions joined me through the story. So let's get to the central question. Did DragonSword Awakening really become a premium buy-to-play game? On the surface, yes. In the demo, I did not see banners. I did not see premium currency. I did not see daily login rewards. I did not see stamina limiting my dungeon runs. I did not see the usual live service screen shouting at me like a casino goblin with a calendar. That is good. Those visible gacha elements seem to be removed. But removing the shop is not the same as redesigning the game. And this is where DragonSword becomes very interesting, and also very concerning. Because underneath the surface, the gacha design philosophy is still very much alive. Progression is still heavily material-based. Characters start at level 1 and need resources to grow. Power is spread across several systems: character level, equipment, skills, karma, breakthrough materials, and possibly Transcendence. There is rarity. There is RNG. There is grinding. There are multiple upgrade layers, and that is the old gacha smell coming from the basement. Multi-layered progression is one of the classic fingerprints of gacha design. It makes power dependent on many interconnected systems, so players always have something else to farm, upgrade, unlock, enhance, awaken, transcend, bless, polish, or sacrifice to the menu gods. In a live service game, that structure exists to keep players engaged for weeks, months, or years. In a premium RPG, it needs to be handled very carefully. Otherwise, it can feel less like meaningful progression and more like a cash shop economy after the cash shop was removed. And that is my biggest concern with DragonSword Awakening. The banners may be gone, but the game still feels haunted by gacha design. Combat seems to be one of the main selling points. The game wants you to use combos, swap characters, tag attacks, and probably combine different effects between party members. On paper, that sounds promising. I like action RPGs where party composition matters. I like switching characters. I like when a game gives me tools and lets me create my own tiny disaster machine. But complexity needs clarity, and right now, DragonSword does not explain itself well. The skill tree is almost completely visible or activated in the demo, and skills require materials to level up. I spent quite some time trying to understand what all these skills do, how they connect, and how I should build my characters. Eventually, I gave up. Not because I hate systems, I like systems, but the game throws too much at the player without giving proper explanations. If a game has character switching, combos, skill upgrades, karma, transcendence, equipment, materials, breakthroughs, and several character roles, then the player needs guidance. Not endless hand-holding, but at least enough information to understand what matters. Right now, the demo feels like opening the hood of a car and discovering 6 engines, 3 batteries, and a tiny wizard refusing to explain the fuel system. 2 systems caught my attention because they feel especially connected to the game's gacha origins: Karma and Transcendence. Karma seems to work like a weapon or special equipment system. In the demo, it is given by default and cannot really be changed, so it is hard to judge how flexible or important this system will be in the full game. Transcendence is more suspicious. From what I saw, it looks similar to Constellation-style systems in Genshin Impact, or other mechanics connected to obtaining character duplicates in gacha games. Since Transcendence is unavailable in the demo, I cannot say how it will work in the premium version. But this is exactly the kind of system that needs a clear explanation before launch. If there is no gacha, how do players unlock Transcendence? Through story progression? Through rare materials? Through side quests? Through character-specific challenges? Through grinding? Through RNG? This matters because duplicate-based power systems are one of the most recognizable pieces of gacha design. If the mechanic remains, but duplicates are replaced with grind-heavy resources, then the game may still carry the same structure, just wearing a different costume. The progression system also feels unclear in practice. I leveled several characters from level 1 to around level 20, but I did not notice a strong increase in power. Even level 5 monsters could still be annoying and did not die quickly or easily. That tells me character strength is probably spread across many systems at once. Character level, skill level, equipment, karma level, breakthrough, maybe transcendence, maybe other systems I did not fully uncover yet. And again, this is very gacha-like. In a good RPG, layered progression can be satisfying when each layer has a clear purpose. But in this demo, it currently feels like a black box. I put materials in, numbers go up, but the actual combat result does not immediately feel better. That can become frustrating very quickly, especially in a premium RPG, where players expect progression to feel connected to gameplay, exploration, and story, not just material farming and menu maintenance. Technically, the demo feels rough. The game is laggy, often unresponsive to input, and this happened whether I played with mouse and keyboard or controller. Controller support also does not feel fully optimized. There are small moments where controller input is not supported properly, forcing me to switch back to mouse and keyboard. That is not what I want to see from a premium PC release. The game is also very demanding. I had to play on minimum settings, and honestly, I do not see the visual justification for that level of performance cost. This is a good reminder that choosing Unreal Engine does not automatically make a game technically impressive. An engine is a tool, not a magic spell. Genshin Impact and Arknight's Enfield are both made with Unity, and both show that final quality depends less on the engine logo and more on how well developers understand, optimize, and polish their game. Right now, DragonSword Awakening does not feel well optimized. On the same PC, I can play Genshin Impact at much better quality. So if this game wants to compete in the premium PC market, performance needs serious work before launch. Another issue is polish. The UI feels very generic. Some elements look more like placeholders than final design. And for a game with this many systems, UI quality is not just cosmetic. It directly affects how understandable and comfortable the game feels. The English localization also has visible mistakes, typos, and inconsistent wording. For example, material descriptions for Hero Breakthrough use several different versions of what seems to be the same phrase. Used during Hero Breakthrough. Used during Hero's Breakthrough. Used during a Hero Breakthrough. This may sound small, but in a complex RPG, terminology matters. If the game uses different wording for the same mechanic, players may wonder whether these are different systems, different item types, or just localization errors. And because DragonSword already has many progression layers, inconsistent wording makes everything feel even more confusing. Maybe this is only an English localization issue. Maybe the original Korean text is cleaner. But for a global Steam release, English localization is not decoration. It is part of the user experience. If the game wants players to understand its systems, the language has to be precise. There is also one design decision that really bothered me. There is no proper pause. If DragonSword Awakening is now a premium buy-to-play title with optional co-op, then why can I not pause the game? I was attacked while looking through inventory. I was attacked while checking character screens. I was attacked while managing my team. And the most absurd part, I was even attacked while choosing my party on the dungeon screen. That makes no sense. This is not active combat. This is not exploration. This is not a dangerous ambush while I am walking through the world. This is pre-mission setup. The game asks me to choose a party before entering a dungeon, but the world keeps running in the background and enemies can still attack me. So instead of thinking about team composition, roles, skills, and strategy, I am trying to build a party while monsters are chewing my ankles like unpaid QA testers. That might make sense in a full online live service game where everything is always connected and always moving. But in a premium single-player RPG, especially one with optional co-op, menus need to respect the player's time. If the game expects me to study 5 layers of progression, compare characters, manage equipment, and prepare for dungeons, it should not punish me for opening the exact screens it wants me to use. Quest design also feels rough. The main quest appears in the log, but side quests are strange. I found an NPC who gave me what seemed to be a side quest, but there was no clear indication before speaking to them. No new quest pop-up, no quest entry added to the menu, and no obvious tracking. At least completing it gave rewards, so the game understood something happened. But the presentation was confusing. Now, I know some older RPGs expect players to read dialogue carefully and discover side quests naturally, without big glowing icons or hand-holding. I like that when the whole game is designed around it, but DragonSword Awakening does not feel like that kind of game. This is not an old-school mystery RPG where every NPC line might be a hidden clue. This is a modern anime action RPG with systems, menus, rewards, and map markers. So when side quests do not appear properly in the log, I do not read that as elegant old-school design. I read it as unfinished quest implementation. One thing the game definitely keeps from its gacha DNA is character design philosophy. Based on trailers, developer streams, and now the demo, DragonSword Awakening clearly knows how to present characters with strong visual appeal. The designs are intense, flashy, and sometimes very fan service heavy. This is not surprising. In gacha games, characters need to sell themselves instantly. A strong silhouette, attractive outfit, personality hook, voice, animations, combat style, and visual fantasy are all part of the package. Even if the banners are gone, that design philosophy does not disappear overnight. And to be clear, this is not automatically bad. Character appeal is part of the genre, but it does raise an interesting question. Do these characters feel naturally integrated into the world, or do they still feel like they were originally created to sell limited-time banners? For now, I can say that DragonSword definitely keeps the bold character appeal of its gacha origins. Whether that becomes a strength or a leftover symptom depends on how well the full game supports those characters with story, personality, and progression. After playing the demo, I can understand why this game may have struggled in the Asian gacha market. That market is merciless, and DragonSword, at least in demo form, feels too raw to survive against better developed live service games. The performance is rough, the UI feels unfinished, the localization is inconsistent, progression is unclear, combat systems are underexplained. The game has many mechanics, but not enough polish or clarity to make them satisfying immediately. And in the gacha market, first impressions are brutal. Players have too many options. If a game feels clunky, confusing, or unfinished, they can simply leave and go back to one of the giants already fighting for their daily attention. But moving to premium does not automatically solve that problem. It simply moves the game into another coliseum. Now, DragonSword Awakening is not only being compared to gacha games, it is being compared to premium action RPGs, open-world games, co-op games, and PC releases where players expect polish, stability, good controls, clear progression, and respectful design from day one. That is a dangerous move. Maybe necessary, maybe brave, but definitely dangerous. So my current demo verdict is simple. DragonSword Awakening removed the visible gacha monetization, but it has not convinced me that it became a proper premium RPG. The transition itself is interesting, but based on the demo, this feels less like a confident rebirth and more like a survival attempt after the gacha route did not work. And now the game is entering a different battlefield. It is no longer competing for daily logins and banner pulls. It is competing for trust. Right now, I do not think the demo earns that trust. Maybe the final release will be more polished. Maybe some systems are unfinished because this is only a demo. But for now, my position is clear: skeptical. I do not feel a strong reason to follow it closely after launch. For me, the real review may happen 1 year later. If DragonSword Awakening is still alive by then, still supported, and still has players, that will be the more interesting answer. Because removing gacha is not the same as saving the game. Surviving without gacha is the real test. So now I want to hear from you. Are you more interested in DragonSword Awakening because it removed gacha? Or are you still suspicious because the original design came from a live service background? And most importantly, if a former gacha game becomes premium, what does it need to prove before you trust it? Let me know in the comments.
그래, 드래곤 더스트는 찾아왔느냐?
네, 여기 있습니다.
고생했구나. 드래곤 더스트 수집은 이쯤에서 멈추어도 좋다.
네? 그 말씀은...
마침내 찾았다. 배신자의 행방을 말이야.